Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Get to Know a Theater. Today, we are in beautiful Port Townsend, Washington, by the water. I'm here at Key City Public Theater with Executive Artistic Director Denise Winter. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So glad to finally be able to take some time and talk to you about this wonderful little theater that's just kind of out of the way, but it's really a hidden gem up here in a beautiful town. Beautiful theater, beautiful town. We want to talk about that a little bit, about your role here, what your philosophy of programming is, and how we're coming along with next season.
Yes.
So, first things first, the theater, Key City Public Theater. What's the history of this building? How long has the theater itself been around?
Oh, well, those are two separate histories, the building and the organization. So Key City Public Theater has been around since 1958. It started as Key City Players, and it actually dates back even before 1958. There was a group in town that was collaborating with the American Association of University Women. AAUW would do ticketing for plays, and eventually they decided to call themselves Key City Players in 1958. I came on board as the first paid employee in 2005, and shortly after that, we hit the 50th anniversary and rebranded as Key City Public Theater.
Before that, it was just strictly volunteer.
Before that, it was strictly volunteer. And as to the history of this building, so Key City Players bounced around town to a variety of venues, everything from the Elks Club to an old Catholic church, and landed in this facility in 1991.
Okay.
So we've been here since 1991, although here has gotten larger and larger and larger. So here was first on the other side of this wall only, and the lobby was the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
And the restrooms were right in the theater itself. And there was like a little hook around, and there was a dressing room backstage. And then slowly we added this lobby in 2008. And then we expanded over into the space next door, and in 2019, and then expanded the vestibule in 2021.
It's a nice, and you wouldn't know that it's piecemeal like that, because you walk in, you get the ticket officer, and obviously your administrative office is off to the right then, right? So if you come in, tickets, administrative offices, theater here to the left, which is and we've got some pictures we'll splice in of the really nice bar you've got here in this lobby area where the restrooms are. One thing that stands out though is this wall.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know if it's in the camera view, but the wall and the railing art.
I've got a picture of that.
Oh, good. Okay. Were created by the same artist. So in the pandemic, when we were doing a whole building refurbishment, we started with the idea that we would do safe and sanitary upgrades for the audience primarily. And then we were able to get a number of grants and do many things throughout the building. But one of the things was, how are we going to do the decor in the lobby? And we decided to commission a local sculptor who works primarily in metal, Margie McDonald, and she is a First Nations Canadian American who lives here in Port Townsend, came here by boat, as many people here have. And so I asked her, I knew I wanted to have a railing here. This railing hadn't existed before. And when people walk in the door, I wanted them to know they were walking into a place of art. So this was going to catch their eye. So I asked her if she would do metal sculpture in the railing. As we were talking about it, the staff had been saying, wouldn't it be cool if we had some kind of exposed wood wall? And Krista Holbrook, who's the production manager here and a phenom on our stage, she is great with decor. And so she was really envisioning this wood wall. And so I asked Margie, I said, do you also work in wood? And she said, oh yeah. So 900 hours of work later, we have this beautiful wall. All of the wood that's on the wall was reclaimed from the renovation project.
Or
from various port businesses from working on boats. And the whole sculpture started with that large circle above your head, which is a piece of wood from a Canadian ship that was being worked on here. And so they gave it to Margie, knowing that she was Canadian. And she started with that, and she started on the floor and built out from there.
Wow.
And then slowly pieced it together. And the trick was she built it on panels that then got adhered to the wall. And she left gaps so that when she put it up, she could piece it back together so there's no seam at all in the artwork. So she is a set designer for us. She does a number of set designs.
Wow. It's unique. It's really beautiful. Yeah, and definitely striking when you come into this lobby area. Well, what brought you to Port Townsend?
So I came to Port Townsend in 2000, and I was coming off of a national tour. I'd been all over the country, and my partner and I were both on that tour. And I had worked in regional theaters across America for the first half of my career. And we were both just looking for a new place to live. We'd met in Minneapolis, and then we moved to Houston. So a little of the Goldilocks story there, too cold, too hot. And we were looking for something that was just right. And so when we knew we were going off on this national tour, we took a map and we put pins in the map and said, let's look at these places. And so we had a number of cities that we explored while we were out on tour, thinking, do we want to move there? And really what it came down to was the Pacific Northwest was the only place in the United States where neither of us had ever lived. We had both moved a lot in our lives. And so we hopped off the tour. We took 6 weeks and just toured around this region everywhere we looked at Vancouver Island, all the way down to Portland, and all along the I-5 corridor. And we actually bypassed Port Townsend going out to Port Angeles thinking, oh, sister city to Victoria, because we love Victoria. And on the way back, we were like, what's this little dot on the map? And we pulled off to Port Townsend, and we weren't here for 2 hours, and we were like, oh, this is great. And then we had hit sort of the moment of, okay, it's been 6 weeks, where are we going? And so we checked out Portland, and we were just sitting in a hotel going through all these visitor guides and things. And at the same moment, we were both like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? We both said at the same time, Port Townsend. And so we moved here.
Great.
I've been here ever since. Longest place I've ever lived anywhere.
Well, I mean, just spend one day here, especially on a day like this. I think it's in the low 70s and sunny, and
yes,
it could keep a lot of people here.
If you talk to anybody who's a transplant to Port Townsend, I'd say like 80% of them will tell you, I came over that big hill and down the curve and sold. So sort of the approach into town is very beautiful.
Well, you just wrapped up your most recent season,
yes,
which had a combination of familiar shows, new adaptations, original world premieres.
Yes.
I think I'm going by memory. So there's Canterville Goes.
Yes.
There was obviously Living Incognito, which is Jim Hammond's phenomenal original work.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Fitzpatrick did his Great Expectations
yes.
over the Christmas and New Year break.
Right.
What am I missing?
What the Dickens.
What the Dickens, yes.
Yes.
The Christmas play.
Yeah.
Did we cover everything?
And then Gunmetal Blues.
And Gunmetal Blues, which was the most recent one.
Right.
So, yeah. So, how did the season go for you? To me, it's the first full season that we've had after COVID. When people, not that it's the first full season, but that people are a little more comfortable getting out and things are starting to go back to normal. How was it for you guys, attendance-wise? And
well, definitely a shift from the 2022-23 season, which was like you said, a full season of programming, but not really a full season of audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, thank you, audience. It was great to see full houses again. That's something that we are used to here at Key Public Theater. So that felt really good. And just the comfort level of audience. I think a lot of word got around about our air handling and our safe and sanitary protocols. So I think people felt more comfortable coming back into this facility. And I think, we put together a season of really exciting things, and it spoke to a lot of different audiences. It brought a lot of new audience, which was nice to see, as well as our returning audience.
Sure.
And we've seen already, as we're launching into the next season, strong enthusiasm with season ticket sales in advance. So it just felt really good. It felt really good.
Yeah, and season ticket sales are a struggle. And I've talked to community and professional theaters. People are less willing to commit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of later purchases,
Yes.
show by show purchases. So
Definitely.
yeah, I know that subscriptions and season tickets are a struggle to get back to where you were before.
It's part of the hesitancy, right? You don't know how you're going to feel, what's going to be going around, what's happening. And people have picked up different patterns in their lives. And I think people were pent up for a long time, are wanting to travel. They don't know what their travel plans are. So it makes it a little different to think about committing to something that far out. So having strong season ticket sales right now, it feels really good. I mean, I definitely, we were not at our normal rate of season tickets last year, but I see momentum taking us back to that level.
Yeah, which speaks to how well the last season was put together. Because if you're taking a risk going out,
Right.
and that if it's something that's better than you expected, well, then you're going to go, with both feet.
Right.
And one thing I wanted to mention is a program that you have here. It seems like it's not necessarily unique, but you lean into it pretty strongly, and that's original works. And I know
Yes.
you've commissioned Alan Fitzpatrick. He did his Christmas Carol here.
Mm-hmm.
Great Expectations, Gin Hammond as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak a little bit about your philosophy around nurturing new artistic work?
Well, it's one of our core values. So we definitely lean into it. But how did it become a core value? When I first applied for the job here, it was an artistic director position. They were advertising in the paper. The theater had never had a paid employee. And I saw that they had a playwrights festival, and it was in partnership with the local arts commission, Port Townsend Arts Commission. And that was an attraction for me. When I talked to them about it, in my interview, I brought it up, and they said, "Oh, we don't have to keep that if you don't want that." And I said, No. I said, that's appealing to me. I grew up worked in the regional theater world, and new plays are a big part of that, or at least they were at the regional theaters where I worked. Hartford Stage, Trinity Rep, Children's Theater Company in Minneapolis. These were all places that were generating new work. And I got to work with a lot of playwrights and see that process and see the value of adding to the American canon of plays. And, we're at a moment in time where you look at the canon of plays, and if it's this big, right, these are the plays that are written by older white guys, right?
Yeah.
And this is the rest. And that's grown. It used to be like, this is the rest. And probably, maybe still that. And so what I have always been excited about in the theaters where I've worked is that the voices, the playwrights, the things that we were doing were all these really interesting people, right, that populate our world. And that's appealing to me personally. So I brought that into the vision for the theater. And that has been what we've been working on ever since. So we kept the Playfest. It was the Port Townsend Playwrights Festival, then it was Playfest, now it's Playcraft Originals. It's had a couple of evolutions, the most recent one being that the Port Townsend Arts Commission, who stewarded that competition of one-act plays that led to that festival, stepped away from that with new vision of how they're using their funding. And so, we've had to step up, we've had to make some changes, but we've kept a commitment to local playwrights in the mix with short plays and hoping to do some more with that going forward. And then attracting playwrights from both local, regional, and national pools to bring their work here. And any playwright will tell you, they need that. They need homes to work on their work. You can only do so much writing in a vacuum.
Yeah, for sure. You need to get out, work with actors, work with creatives, and all of that. So how does this tie into, because I want to talk about your philosophy of programming in advance of trying to get some hints for what might be coming up for next season. So what is your philosophy for weaving a theme through a particular season, or how you program, and then how do you mix in original works in there as well to keep that going?
So, I don't think in all the years I've ever started with a theme and tried to fill it. I usually take a broad view of not every play is for every audience member, but if every play is well done, it will serve every audience member. But my best seasons are when every play in the season is someone's favorite. So that's a win for me, that we spoke deeply to every audience member through something that we did in the season. And so sometimes as I put it together, a theme will emerge. That's happened any number of times, and I'm sure that just has to do with the zeitgeist. What is on my mind, what's on the community's mind.
Sure.
But how do I approach it is always starts from the point of view of what stories will resonate with this community at this moment in time. And they might resonate for a variety of reasons. And it could be everything from pure joy and entertainment, because we could really use a good dose of that right now, to universal themes and struggles of humanity that need to be addressed by someone somewhere, and we'll take that on at this moment. So in balance, I look at, obviously, we have limited resources, as all theaters do. So I often look at it from what will these plays look like on stage? So what I don't want to do is have a whole bunch of kitchen sink dramas in the same season, right? I don't want to just be, here's the unit set that's in this house, here's the unit set that's in this house. I want to go to different worlds. I want to explore not just states of mind or interesting topics, but also where do we go to tell that? And I think that's important for inspiring the artists that are part of the team. They have to want to be in these worlds and create these worlds. Yeah. And if we're just going to the same kind of world all the time, even though the theme or the story is different, that's not as interesting, and it doesn't bring about enough creativity to bubble on and get crazy. So I'm a visual thinker, so I think that really plays a lot into how I think about a season, is what will it look like on the stage, and will people have a transformative experience just by walking in and what they see and where they're going to go. And then within that, what is the story that we're going to tell when we're in that world? A balance of all the things, comedy and thoughtful tragedy and deep emotion and pure joy and music and drama and play with music. So it feels like you saw a musical, but really we only produced one musical. Those kinds of tricks I put in there. Casting, what's intimate with a couple of people, what's a little more fleshed out, that's a real opportunity to showcase our ensemble. And where are we fitting underrepresented voices into that overall arch, and meaning, most importantly, not just stories with us, but stories about us. Where are those pieces in our season, so that each member of our community can look at this space and say, this is my theater. That's important. If we're going to be public in our name, then we better be reaching the better part of that.
Very fair, yeah. Now, one thing I have noticed is that you and your creative teams know your space. There's a lot of theaters that have a smaller stage, and it's not your stage isn't huge.
Intimate.
There you go. But some will try to produce Les Mis on a small stage, and it gets too crowded, it gets too bulky. But from the shows I've seen here, they've been scaled right for the size, and I think is that a challenge when you're picking out shows sometimes to make sure that it does fit, or do you is it more about the vision than the creative team makes that work within the confines of the stage?
Well, I mean, certainly I don't go out looking for the 25 character musical, but I came into this space saying I will not be bound by limitation. I'm not going to look at it by what I can't do. I'm going to look at it by what I can do. And that is the attitude that I bring to everything that we do here. So that I have to have the team that says, okay, but Denise, we got to rein that in. But I think it's important that everybody look at our space that's going to work in this space by what is possible. We have to start there, or else we're going to end up, compromising all the time, right? So then I think that is where you fall into that trap. Well, we know we can't do it to that degree, so we'll do it anyway and just know that we're limited. As opposed to, I want to do this and I want to bring it to life in this space. So I can't say that it doesn't affect anything about how I do season planning. I'm not doing noises off with a 2-story revolving set. But we do choose plays and then imagine how they'll be in our space and get excited about how we can use this space and surprise our audience with how we use the space.
Yeah, I think Gunmetal Blues is a great example of that, because you had, the bar, you had the detective's office, you had all these different locations all on that one stage, and through lighting and just implying where some of these people are and the use of shadows behind glass and things like that. It was very well done.
Thank you. Well, the other thing is building a creative team that has experience working together, has a shorthand, knows each other's strengths and weaknesses, or I should say strengths and gaps, because it's not necessarily a weakness because you don't have that knowledge, but and working collaboratively from the get-go to build these shows out. So we just had our preliminary design meeting, first one for the upcoming season, where we really sat down and started looking at assignments. But these are teams that don't always pair up exactly the same, but have all worked with one another. Or then when we introduce someone who's new to the team, they're brought in and there's a base of knowledge. So we're not kind of just bringing in a whole bunch of people at once that haven't been here, nor are we just like, these 4 people do everything all the time. So there's always an influx of new ideas, but there's also institutional knowledge that carries forward.
Yeah. Well, speaking of next season, you haven't announced it yet.
Right.
When?
Publicly. Yeah.
So I would hope if you're having design meetings, you know what you're doing.
Yes.
And you're probably going to say, "Oh, we are doing Les Mis," and then you just make me.
I don't know why you said that.
But what are your plans for announcing it?
So we had our season reveal party, which if you're a subscriber, then you get invited to it. And so we had a house full of former subscribers and sponsors who come and hear the first reveal. And then those on that list who aren't able to attend on that night, they get a notification. So that has gone out, and there's early bird specials that people are doing on the season tickets right now. So
do they have to sign an NDA?
No, they're probably off talking about it. And then we did our general auditions. So of course the people that were at the general auditions heard what the season is. So I would imagine there's some buzz out there already. But Kat Agudo, who is our audience services manager, and Terry Tennyson, who is our graphic designer, are working on a lot of the materials right now. So I would imagine it will be probably within the week.
Okay.
So I don't know when this is going to air, but
so by the time this comes out, it will already. Be
so
announced.
I'll just say what it is. Okay. So and now I have to know what it is, right? That's the challenge. What if I don't remember? Okay, so we're opening the season with a new musical, commissioned musical by Linda Dowdell and Jessica Welsh, and they are partnering on a musical for the first time.
Linda is your music director, right?
She is our resident musical director composer. So she had her hand in every show, I think, except I don't think she did anything on Living Incognito, but she wrote an original song for Canterville Ghost last year. and she did some work, some musical work for us, some recordings, and transposition for my saxophone solo in What the Dickens, and then was our musical director for None Blue. So she's with us all season long, and she's been working on this musical for 2 years now, and it's Wild Man of the Wainuchi, and it's based on it's historical fiction because they fictionalized the story somewhat, but it's based on a true story of an individual who in the late 1800s was the subject of the longest manhunt in Washington state history.
Wow.
So that's coming in the fall, and that's in October. And then for the holidays, David Natali, who wrote the play that we reopened the theater with in 2022, which was Around the World in Less Than 80 Days, is back writing a new wild romp for the holidays called Bake to Alaska. And it is a comedy, bit of a parody. It imagines, we have a very famous race here in Port Townsend called the Race to Alaska. And we also have a annual gingerbread house baking competition and decorating competition. And it imagines what happens if you combine those two things. What if you have a gingerbread competition and the only rule is that you have to bake and build that gingerbread house while on a boat racing to Alaska? So that is going to be our holiday show. Alan Fitzpatrick will be back for a limited engagement of his Christmas Carol. Since he did Great Expectations last year, we thought we would give everyone another treat with Christmas Carol, because it will have been a couple of years. And then in the winter, appropriately enough, we will be doing Winter's Tale, a contemporary adaptation that I will be adapting and directing.
Oh, nice.
In celebration of my 20th anniversary here at Key City Public Theater. And then we will finish up the season with Carmelita. It has a long subtitle, which I will not mangle at this time. And it's a working title, so I don't know if that'll continue to be its full title. But Carmelita is a solo show that is based on the history, the story of one of the first Mexican women to immigrate to the state of Washington. And it examines assumed history and false narratives by illuminating someone's actual personal story, and specifically an underrepresented voice, which have a tendency to be misrepresented in history. So that show will be performed by Krista Holbrook.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And it's written and directed by Anna Marie Compoy, who has been working with us over the years and has done a lot of work in Seattle and has written and worked on a number of bilingual plays that are performed in both English and Spanish. And there will be some Spanish in Carmelita. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Krista is, she was just in Gunmetal Blues,
Yes.
and she was in
What the Dickens.
And she's on your staff here too.
Yes, she is.
So how many people do you have on the administrative staff of the theater?
On the administrative staff, I think we're 7.
Okay.
But most of those people wear 2 hats. So while they may hold an administrative position in the theater, like head of our education programs, they're also doing production-related things. So there are very few people wearing one hat in this organization.
Well, speaking of your education programs,
Yes.
it's something I wanted to talk to you about because you do more than just the work here in this building. Can you tell me a little bit about what those are? Children's programs, just education? I mean, there's a few that are listed on your website.
Yeah, so we started out with after-school programs. We saw a gap. A lot of the arts programs in Jefferson County, not unlike everywhere, were drying up. And so we started with after school, everything from first grade through seniors in high school, programs that maybe meet one day a week. And then we expanded into other communities. So we do that in Shimicum and Port Townsend. And then we started an immersive in-school program. We call it Theater Adventure Week. And we go into the school we first meet with the whatever classroom teacher we're going to be working with, and we find out what their curriculum is, and then we write a play specific for that classroom that touches on things that they're learning.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we go in for a workshop day where we get to know the classroom a few weeks before we're going to actually be in there, and that's how we know how to cast. And we kind of have a formula for how we write these plays so that there are larger roles, there are ensemble roles, and then there's a technical side. So Foundry 10 out of Seattle funded us developing a model that can be replicated in, for other organizations, that is a student-friendly tech package that it has two versions, an expanded version where we can actually fully light and outfit with scenery, a stage, and run sound, or it can be directly in the classroom. So say for a second grade classroom, we just go into the classroom, we have a smaller version of that model. There'll be a follow spot, a sound system, a backdrop, and they can get the experience of putting on a play but never leave the classroom. The other expanded model invites the public to come see their final product.
Okay.
So we just got a big grant from the Creative Start program through Arts Law for the version where we go in just into the classroom, because they want to see arts programming for K through third graders, and so it was a perfect fit for that.
Yeah, and that's great. That's something you can provide when that's being pulled back by a lot of the school districts.
Right, the schools are loving it. We have these incredible letters from parents and teachers and administrators about the impacts of our program. We just finished up one in Quilcene, and the teachers are like, I don't even recognize these. They're completely different students having gone through that process. It's, I think, the collaboration aspect and the achieving something together that you thought seemed impossible because you only have 1 week to do it. So it's kind of exciting. And then just quickly, our other big things are we have summer camps all summer long, including a performance intensive that results in public presentation. And then the big one is our teen initiative, which is fully run teen production. They do everything: direct, design, act, publicize, and it runs for 2 weekends. And many of our regular subscribers and audience members, plus lots of family and friends, come to see that each year in July.
Great.
Yeah, so that's a great project.
Yeah, so not only do you do things here, but it seems like there's plenty of opportunity to help nurture the next generation and generations
For sure.
of actors and creatives. And I know all of these, the information, but these can be found on your website.
Yes, they can.
Also, if people wanted to support the theater, I know there's buying tickets for sure, but people can donate. And I know that if you come to a show and donate, Denise here will do a little dance on stage for you.
Yes, there is a Dance of Joy.
Yeah.
It comes with the little white envelope.
Little way.
But also, specifically for the education programs, we established a couple of years ago, Krista Holbrook reached her 10-year anniversary working for the theater. And to honor that, we created a named fund for our education programs. And we have found that that really, it helps raise confidence, especially for foundations giving to our education programs, that there's a fund that goes into specifically, the Krista Holbrook Youth Education Fund. And we've gotten a number of grants and things for scholarships. That fund does three things. It covers all of our scholarships that we give, so no student is turned away for lack of funds from any of our programs. It also funds technology for programs related to our students, and then teaching artists' salaries. So it's a really important aspect of keeping those programs robust and building upon them. So we're grateful for everyone that contributes to the Krista Holbrook Youth Education Fund.
Great. And there's you can donate out of the website for that as well.
It's on there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Denise, thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
It's been really a pleasure. I think this is my first season coming to shows here, and I've loved everyone. So And to prove it, you can read my reviews on those shows. Yes. But Denise Winter, our Executive Artistic Director here at Key City Public Theater. I'll give you the last word. How would you describe this theater for those of who are in Seattle or out yonder where they think maybe it's too far to come to Port Townsend to see a show?
Well, it's never too far because it's beautiful here. And we are a small professional theater, deeply rooted in the community. We welcome your presence here, so please join us.
Yeah, and every experience I've had at this theater, it feels like a community. It feels like it just fits in this Port Townsend community so well. So thank you again, Denise, for your time. And thank you for watching this episode of Get to Know a Theater here at Key City Public Theater in Port Townsend. I'm Greg Heilman with the Sound on Stage, and until next time, I will see you at the stage door.